Be careful.
He's and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end when we do the podcast, so
that's all right.
Feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
Welcome to the Aceman. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Aceto. I could do this because people can see me.
I know. It's very cool.
It's cool.
It's very, very cool. You're not watching this live. Just know that you can also tune in on Wednesday nights.
That's right. From 8:30 to 9:30 on Twitch. We are on the Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling channel. Among a bunch of other great comics.
Tons of great shows on that channel.
Other podcasts as well. Everyone has different time slots, and we are the 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, and we hope you join us live.
You can watch us record in the Acement live with our guests.
In the Acement.
Live from the Acement, behind the funny. So we're recording this week, the week before we actually go live, but the train never stops.
No.
We record every week no matter what, because we want to bring you the best in comedian conversations. And we have one I'm really excited. And we say that every freaking week.
Well, because we're excited. That's why we do this podcast.
I so look forward to Wednesday nights and these conversations with everybody. But this is going to be a cool one this week.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it until I booked them. And then I started thinking, you've heard me talk on the podcast about how I started. I started at Periwinkle's, but almost simultaneously, I was at Rhode Island College at the time, and so I did comedy there. Ed Del Grande booked it, and one of the very first people I worked with at Rhode Island College was our guest tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
I did. That's the first time you've told that.
Yeah. See, there's a first for everything. Every once in a while, I don't repeat a story.
I love how you keep our relationship fresh with something new every once in a while.
Please stop. In the meantime, now you can actually see that we're not full of shit when we say our official, unofficial sponsor of the podcast
Jefferson's
is Jefferson's, and we're doing pretty good because this is the third week on this bottle.
Well, it's Ocean, and we tend to savor.
We do
Ocean.
We don't overdo Ocean.
No, when we get the small batch, which we love,
we
have a good time with it, and it tends to go faster. The Ocean, we tend to savor and enjoy.
We savor it
a little bit more, but it doesn't matter. A bottle of Jefferson's is a good bottle of Jefferson's.
That's right.
No matter which one we get,
and someday they'll understand just how much we love them.
Someday
and send us
I'm going to be outside their window holding a boombox above my head.
I told you we should do a bourbon trail trip one time
and stand in their parking lot with a boombox above our head playing all the times that we've mentioned them.
Yeah. and what's the song from Say Anything? In Your Eyes?
Yes.
John
playing
Cusack.
in the background as we talk about Jefferson.
And then as you see us, we'll record it. So as you see us getting handcuffed by the police for trespassing.
Well, they can watch it on an episode of Cops.
Yeah.
Because it is in Kentucky.
We'll do a cross episode with Cops and Behind the Funny. Exactly.
That would be the ultimate.
And
but
as
anyway,
usual, we went on a tangent right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
We are very excited, as we always are, because this guy is, again, very, very funny guy, has been a headliner, corporate comedy clubs, private events, and again,
well-known, very accomplished.
Colleges, like I said, my first time working with him was at Rhode Island College at the old coffee ground, and among other things, and you're going to hear his story in a little bit, just how much he's done, what he's gone through in his life, and just how he's come out the other side on it. So we're really, really excited to welcome Mr. Tom Hayes to the Behind the Funny podcast, and we're just getting used to this whole StreamYard thing. So Tom's already saying hi. Hey, here he is.
Welcome, Tom.
Welcome, Tom. And
Thank you, guys. What is that thing on the top of my head? What is? Oh,
I
there
don't
it
know.
is.
Oh, there it is.
That's actually our logo on the screen that was sitting on top of your head.
Okay.
It's the Stairway to the Acement.
Yes, it's the live from the Acement. It's basically
This logo in a smaller version.
but on a smaller version. So, but now you are center screen. You're the big,
focus.
You're the big show. You're the
Well,
focus, so.
thanks for the memories. Thanks for the walk down memory lane. My God, were those the great days or what, Ace, huh?
Oh my God. Yeah. Like I said, I had started at Periwinkles. I did it a couple of times, and Frank O'Donnell and Charlie Hall had said, hey, you know what? You go to Rhode Island College. Why don't you reach out to Eddie Del Grande, because he books comedy at Rhode Island College. You could probably get on a show. And that's what I did. I reached out to Eddie, and you were like the first or second time I was up on stage. Remember in the student union, it was downstairs,
Right.
and it was called the Coffee Ground. And on Monday nights, once a week during school, they would have a comedy night. And I worked with you. I worked with this guy, Steve Trilling. I don't know if you remember. Remember Steve Trilling?
Yeah. He was a fun guy.
Oh, he was hilarious. I used to love. He was one of those first guys on Comedy Central.
He was hit the teeth, right?
The big teeth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And his signature bit, I used to love this because he was very nerdy looking. Interesting thing about him is he ended up like working for semantic software. Like he's like a massive, like
MIT.
Yeah, he's like a virus, like a virus guy, like computer virus.
Concert cellist.
Yeah, I know. He talk about multi-talented. This guy was amazing.
You know what? We've had a couple of guys that we've talked to, Tom, on here that, Dwayne Perkins.
Yep, Dwayne.
Another guy that had advanced degrees in mathematics and computer science. Some of these really just brilliant guys that are very funny on stage and then just never really used the degree, just went on to be comedians.
I think Steve still does like corporate comedy, but he definitely is he's definitely like big in software. Cause I remember watching like NBC Nightly News one night, and they had on, it was like during like, I don't know, might've been the Y2K thing,
Right.
And they had people from Semantic or McAfee or one of those. And it was Steve. I was like, oh my God, I know that guy.
Let me tell you, after what I paid for college for my three daughters, if all of a sudden one of them was doing stand-up, I'd be like, okay, you're paying me that shit back. Let me tell you.
Imagine if one of them went to MIT.
Yeah.
What that would mean, Scott, is you were a shitty parent.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would wear that crown, proudly. I just want my money back now.
these ladies are broken, Scott. That's what that would mean.
Well, but they're not swinging off a pole, Tom. So I'm only half a bad parent.
Well,
I'm the bad parent. My wife's the good parent. Then we weren't both bad.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Both swingers, they'd be paid well.
True.
Yes, making more than comics.
True.
So,
So when I worked with you, honestly, that was literally like 31, 32 years ago.
Was he already headlining at that place?
And he was, So let's go back. When did you start going?
I hate to tell
start
you
comedy.
I hate to tell you this. It was more than that.
Oh yeah, because you were already headlining when I was, just starting.
Well, it's great. This is a great segue because this is how I ended up in comedy. And when you talk about Eddie Del Grande,
yeah,
do you know where he is now? Or?
I think he's still doing plumbing because he was Del Grande Plumbing. His dad owned the business, and I don't know if his dad handed him the business or I thought they had gotten.
I was there for that transition. First of all, what a great human being!
Oh my God, always had a smile on his face.
Always, he didn't
remind him.
Right. He didn't belong in company. He was happy.
Yeah. He reminded me of not always just his looks, but kind of his mannerisms. He reminded me of Rich Seisler. Always had a smile on his face, very down to earth and easygoing.
And he was a booker.
Yeah,
and he was happy.
Well, he was a comic first.
He was a comic first.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he was a hustler. He just was ambitious. I think I met him when he finally settled down. I don't know. I met him at the beginning of that relationship or whatever, but settled down. And then he got a big break. He got on a cable construction show. One of these.
That's what it was. Like This Old House or one of them.
Yes.
That's right.
And it was great. I mean, it was funny. I remember a scene they did where they were going through the house, and he was kind of going tete-to-tete with the host. And the host they got into a kind of you could tell there was a little tension there. The guy had gloves on the counter. Yeah. So they're walking like to another room, and there was a bucket right beside the gloves to the counter. And he went by Del Grande, went like that to the gloves, and the gloves went in the trash can.
That's awesome.
But he was, so this is how I ended up in comedy, because we shared the story. He won Showtime Cable's funniest person in Rhode Island contest. Did you know that?
Yes. Yeah. Showtime had come to Periwinkles. This was a couple of years before I had started. They came to Periwinkles. They were looking for like the funniest person in each state, and then they would compete for the funniest person in the U.S. Yeah. And Eddie had won the funniest person in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I had won the funniest person in Massachusetts.
Oh.
Which totally spooked me, because I knew I wasn't, and I couldn't believe it happened. But you're absolutely right. They ran this national concert. Cable had just come out. Mm-hmm. So everybody was getting cable. You know, it was the standards. It was HBO, it was Showtime, blah, blah. And I'm walking by the TV set. I think my kids had it on a Saturday afternoon or something. And Showtime Cable, if you have a funny video, we want to see it. We have this contest, funniest person in America. Send in the video. Well, as fate would have it, and you know, I don't know if you know Bucky Lewis, a very famous. Yep. Okay, well, Bucky and I are doing a podcast, and what we're doing is classic comedy from days gone by, Lucille Ball, and so anyway, we generate those. We go back to those days and everything else. Well, we always talk about destiny, and you know, I see this as part of the thread that somehow, for some reason, we're born to do this, whether we know it or not.
Right.
And it shows up. And so what had happened was I was born into a family of magicians, the Italian, I'm half Irish, half Italian. The Italian guys all did a little parlor magic, except one, my uncle, was semi-professional and actually president of the Pacific Coast Association of Magicians.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I didn't know the guy because he had moved out to Monterey before I was born.
Yep.
But so that part of show business, if you want to say, was in the family. And so we all learned, and I really took an attraction to the magic. But one thing with magic is if you do not have a support base, magic is an antagonistic entertainment. People aren't just happy to see the trick. They want to catch you.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So being a teen, it was just a fight. Every time I did a trick, I saw that, you know, and it was like, forget about it. I dropped it. And one day I was on a sales call. I was selling radiology film, and actually in Barrington, Rhode Island, a radiologist had an office there. And I was new at the job, but I knew the guy was close to coming over. And I said to my boss, I don't know how to close on this guy. He says, I'll do it. So we go in. And I could tell the doctor's on an off day. He's not in his happy self. Yeah. And I say, hey, doc, you know, I was just curious if you thought about, you know, purchasing our film. And he goes, no. He says, and if you come back here before a month is up, I will never buy your film. Now, to me, that was a signal.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. So I said, okay, doc, thanks. And I started heading for the door. And my boss, who's a very sophisticated guy, he was a semi-pro tennis player, belonged to the best clubs, Longwood, etc., reaches in his pocket and takes out this really crappy parlor trick, which was a cylinder, and it was a faked cylinder. It was a hollowed out, and on the top was a nickel. So it looked like he had 4 or 5 nickels, but there was only one real nickel, and then this thing. He puts it on the table, and I'm like, oh my God, he's not going to do this.
What is he doing? Yeah, right.
Hey, doc, he says, before we go, I just want to show you what happens every time you put a piece of Kodak film on the box instead of Fujifilm. And he goes like this, and he takes it, and the nickels are gone, and he shows him the cylinder. And I'm going, that's it. This guy's a radiologist. He makes $500,000 a year. He's a doctor's doctor. We're done. And the doctor goes, starts laughing. He does a complete mood change, laughs, and says to him, if you show me how to do that, you got my business.
Wow.
Right? So I'm like, my God. So we go in and he shows him how to do it. He goes, okay, send me a case of each here.
Yep.
And we're shooting. And now I'm brand new salesman. So I'm thinking, we got to go before this guy changes his mind.
Right.
Let's get out of here. And he keeps talking. We get to the door and he says, wait a minute. And I go, I knew it would.
Here it comes.
While you're at it, send a box of each to my office down the street.
Wow.
Over a 10-year period, we sold that doctor $1 million worth of film.
Holy shit.
You realize I'm buying some fucking magic tricks tomorrow for my day job.
I was just going to say, where's the local magic shop?
Exactly.
So imagine destiny, the spirit, whatever, the magic spirits are saying, boom, in your face, you are going to do. So I come running home. I was a little pack rat. I'm married. I got 2 kids. Everybody's like, hi, daddy. And I'm like, I don't have time. I run up to the
I'm going to get to the magic.
We're going to be rich. We're going to be rich. And I grab the trick. And the next day I'm running around and people are looking at me like,
what the hell is this guy doing?
Was this guy crazy?
Right.
Like nickels disappear under the desk. And, but was interesting. I found a couple of radiologists who, when I did that, said, tell you what, you better come back here with a new trick every week.
Wow.
Now, okay, so now the yellow brick road opens, okay? And now, so I run down back, thank God, Little Jack Horner Joke Shop was still alive in Boston. I go in, I knew all the things I needed. Give me that rope trick, give me those balls, give me this, and this. And I'm relearning all of this magic.
All this magic, right.
I keep my biggest account. He's my biggest fan. So a year, and then my boss shows up in town, and I'm brand new. I'm only like 3 months on the job, and he looks at me and goes, "What's the matter with you? What's the matter with your pockets?" I goes, "Oh, nothing, man. Yeah, but you look like Captain Kangaroo." And I go, I got magic tricks. He goes, "Oh, wait a minute." He goes, "Oh, no, this is professional medical sales. You can't be doing that." I said, "Watch." So we go down, and early in the morning in hospitals, what the radiology department is doing is barium enemas, okay? These guys are walking around with...
That's the best time for magic.
Of course. Hey, Doc, you want to see a rope trick? Watch me thread this rope right through the patient.
Let's make last night's dinner disappear.
Yeah.
I've been out of the business style for over 20 years. And my buddy went to Mass General the other day and had to have a heart procedure. And so, he goes in the room and I'm standing there. And of course, hey, I'm 74 now and they're looking at me. And so what are they thinking? This guy needs a procedure.
Yeah, right. You walk up. They're like, name and date of birth, please. And do you have your insurance card?
And I had tried. I'm with stupid a few times. That's not working. And so finally I would look at them. I go, yeah, I said, I'd really like a barium enema. And they're like, what? Just kidding. It's the last thing you want. It's one of the most painful procedures you can have. Anyway.
Do you have this in a home kit?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Can I get it to go?
Well, just a quick aside, one of my favorite stories. I walked into a chief radiologist office one day. He's laughing his ass off. I said, what's so funny? He says, this morning a patient was on the table getting a barium enema, a woman, and halfway through the procedure, she reached around, grabbed the tube, yanked it out, and looked at the doctor and said, this exam is now over. Okay.
I don't even want to know what's happening.
That's ugly. But one thing that that I could say, because we have a lot of younger comics that listen to us and a lot of people new to comedy or performing. But one important thing I think that you learned in that moment when he did that nickel trick is how powerful disarming people is with comedy or that distraction for a second. How powerful that is.
I had an epiphany the other day with, you get into sales or whatever your profession is, and you try to, if you have any desire to be good and stand above the crowd, you study everything about it and you learn all the techniques. And then after you figure it all out, why did you get the business? Personality.
Right. Right.
That's it, folks. If I can teach the comics anything, get a personality.
Right.
Yep.
You're selling yourself more than anything else.
Exactly.
You're right.
Exactly.
That's why people were buying, not because my product was better or less expensive.
No,
it was
it
me.
was relationship.
100%.
And
100%.
a guy named Al Goshman, who was at that time, TV was so exciting, wasn't it? When comedy, there was Evening at the Improv.
Oh, yeah.
Saturday Night Live, and then there was also like a magic show on, and one of the close-up specialists, one of the guys at tables, was a guy named Al Goshman. He would make things disappear right at a table. You were 2 feet from this man, and he would make things appear and disappear that would make you start to think, this guy's not messing around.
Right.
Magic. This is so. We got through the lecture, and everybody's taking notes and blah blah blah, and he goes, I want to tell you something now. He says, if you learned anything from this lecture, you are the magic, not the tricks.
Right.
And he says, if you concentrate on you, and this is advice for all you young comics out there, it's developing that character
Yep.
and understanding you're giving to the audience rather than taking laughs. That was the big move for me when I finally said, hey, wait a minute. As long as I'm interested in getting laughs, I'm screwed.
Right.
Because the audience has all the power. And once I shifted to, I'm here to give them. If you don't like it, I can't do anything about that.
Right.
So
Right.
it's getting comfortable in the skill. So anyway, so these guys we walk in and they're all in their lead aprons. They're walking up and down the halls, going from room to room, sticking tubes up people's butts.
Yeah.
And they 5 or 6 of them look at me and go, oh my God, the magician is here.
Which I'm sure put all of the patients on the gurneys at ease. Where's he going to stick something and make it disappear?
Nothing up my sleeve. Ma'am, is this your watch?
Yeah.
I understand now. I'm giving you guys great fodder for this show.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
perfect. It's perfect.
No,
So-
but let me ask you
anyway,
this.
I'm there doing rope tricks, pick a card.
Yeah. Look at this scarf.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's it. It's up my sleeve. It's over here. And we walk out, and we get in the car, and my boss goes, what happens if you run out of tricks?
I don't. Check my expense report.
So where did stand-up finally come in for you?
This is it. So now the docs are asking me not to just do close-up magic, but hey, my kid's having a birthday party. Can you? And like, of course, docs, you're giving me $1 million worth of business a year.
So they're asking their Fujifilm salesperson to entertain their kids.
Oh, listen, I've had
Wow.
I'm in medical sales during the day, and I've had doctors ask me to do their private parties.
No, but
and stuff like
you
that.
have been doing
Yeah,
actual
that's true.
stand-up. At this point, he's not out doing magic shows or
No.
anything. So I mean,
But he was good enough that
Yeah,
they were like, "Hey,
that's
why don't you come and
impressive.
do it." Right.
Yeah, so now I got to go on. So now I'm calling that uncle in Monterey who I don't know, but my cousins are saying, you better call Frank.
Yeah.
And Frank, I'm in trouble. They want me to do this, for them as a show, not just. So I fly out to Monterey, and it was amazing connection. And, God rest his soul, is just an amazing human. And he took me in and taught me everything.
Wow.
And so now I'm in, just like tonight, it's gone full circle. I'm in a basement doing magic tricks for little kids, and they're,
Wow.
I get you.
Right.
and I'm actually shaking. I'm so nervous, and I'm doing it. The kids are going, he's shaking.
Oh, they're calling you out.
So the act evolves, and what I'm attracted to is comedy magicians. I was fortunate again to be able to join 2 magic clubs in Boston, and I got to see the comedians.
Yeah.
They're really funny magicians and their setups, and it was great because of the audience participation. So
Right.
before I even hit comedy, I was comfortable reaching out to the audience and working the crowd. Anyway, so I developed the crowd. At a show one night, a guy who made my artificial legs. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
I got one sitting in the corner. He had just got a beautiful camera, and he came to the show and he caught the sublime moment, the supreme moment. I got a guy up on the stage. I used to actually make a cupcake. It looked like I made a cupcake in a guy's pocket. I would break an egg. I'd put flour in there, I'd put milk, and then I'd throw a lighted handkerchief in his pocket and come out with this cupcake. Well, the guy was loaded, all right? He looked like a character on Owen Martin's. It was a show back then.
Laughing?
Yeah.
Rowan and Martin.
Rowan and Martin. And he looked like a character. He had anyway, he was hysterical.
Yep.
I put these glasses with the bouncy eyes.
Yep.
Playing in the glasses, and he's doing all these motions, and I'm the whole time trying to pull him in.
Yep.
More, it's this contrast of me trying to work him straight and him going crazier. The more hysterical the thing is. It was a classic. Anyway, I take that video cassette and I drop it in the mail to Showtime, and I forget about it. Well, for a year, Showtime decides not to just look at the videos, but to come to Boston at the height of Boston comedy.
Yep.
Stephen Wright, and of course Lenny and Steve Sweeney, and Paula Poundstone, you name it. Okay, Siri, on and on. All of the greats we know. They come to Boston for a year, traveling to every single comedy club, Comedy Connection, Nick's. There were dozens of them.
Yep.
And so I figured that's that. I know those guys. I see them. Those guys are funny.
Right.
So then it was announced they were going to have a national runoff in New York. And so I said, well, I got a call from my wife one day. I check in. Remember before voicemail and cell phones?
Oh, yeah.
Call somebody. And my wife says to me, Showtime Cable just called. I'm like, yeah, right. She goes, no. She says, Showtime Cable, they're looking for you. So I'm going, okay, they want one of two things. They want me to come. Maybe they want me to come to New York, which I'm not doing because I know I'm not going to stand a chance.
Right.
Second of all, they're looking for an address to send the cassette
tape back.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that.
Right.
What's your return address so we can send you tape back? Crazy. Oh, that would be the worst.
So I call, and sure enough, somebody says Showtime Cable. So I figure, okay, the number's legit.
Yeah.
Nobody's pranking me.
Right.
I had a reputation at the time for being a pretty good pranker.
Yeah.
And so they put me on hold. So hold on. And the gal picks up, Tom Hayes? And I'm standing in a hospital lobby listening to this. Tom Hayes? And I'm like, yeah. The Tom Hayes. Yeah. You submitted us. Yeah. Congratulations. You just won funniest person in Massachusetts.
Holy shit.
Right?
Wow.
I mean, come on. This is falling out of the sky now, right? And at the time, I had taken a course with Paul Barclay and Billy Downs.
Yep.
And I did a couple of times at their clubs, but what I was determined at the time, I'm making $300-400. This is 30 years ago to do Mason's Hall, to do an American Legion.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm looking at all these comedians doing open mics and not getting paid. And I'm looking at the cash register going ching ching ching.
Right.
And them charging $20, and I'm going, I'm not doing this. I'm
Right.
not going paying. I'm already there. So they said, "Oh, congratulations!" And I'm like, I said, "I think you guys ran all over the state for like a year." Yeah. And they go, "No,
did you not see so and so and so and so?"
He's trying to talk them out of it.
Yeah, right.
What about Stephen Wright? What about
the guy that's been on Carson and
have you seen Lenny Clark?
Yeah.
Have you seen Stephen Wright?
I'm not the guy. This is the That's wrong. I'm not him.
Yeah.
And they go, no. We already sent out a press release. And I'm like,
Wow.
no, I don't need this.
Which I'm sure gave you all kinds of support from the Boston comedy community.
Oh yeah.
Who the fuck is this?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Nobody knew me. The only ones who knew me were Paul Barkley and Billy Down
Right.
class. So
now when you say you took a class, was it with Paul and Billy teaching, or was it the one that they took with Sean Morey way back in the day?
Sean, they brought in, it was a great class.
Yeah.
They'd bring in Steve Sweeney.
Oh, all right.
Teddy Bergeron.
Yeah.
So they brought in the comics to give. Right. It was, when you go back in time and you think of what happened in Boston and what it generated.
Oh,
there's no other way of explaining that it was magical.
Yeah.
How did this happen? Where were all these guys before?
Right. Well, what we ended up finding out just from talking to some of them is some of them were teachers and social workers, and Tony V was a social worker, and Steve Sweeney was a teacher, or was it Don Gavin that was a teacher? I think it was Don
Gavin.
Don Gavin taught at CM, and,
right.
And you're right, but they already had sets.
Right.
Like Stephen Wright went to Bill Rucker High School, and Stephen Wright is writing jokes during the day.
During class, right.
So when they hit the stage, they were already hot. Lenny was ran for mayor of Cambridge. Lenny just had personality. So it was monstrous what happened. And then it drew everybody from Cleveland.
Everywhere.
Came, and what I found amazing about it is it came to us, just like it came to Providence.
Yeah.
It came to you guys. So sure enough, it hits the papers. I'm on TV, and I'm like, what do I do now? And then Billy calls me up and goes, Tommy, we got the press release. You won. And so Billy was on it. And he goes, did you know somebody? I'm going, Billy, I don't know what this is about. Well,
right.
You got so much press. Would like you to come down and work. And he goes, and we'll pay you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like,
wow.
Now you're talking my language.
So you got to skip the open mic.
I got to go right
period and went right to working. Wow.
I had the stage experience. I had funny comedy magic. Of course, then that's all they needed. All the Boston comics needed to see was a few props and magic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is no good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was easily hated right from the shot,
Wow.
But again, Lenny being Lenny, and Lenny being one of the greatest humans on the planet.
Absolutely.
He took me in and loved it. But anyway, so the next thing I know, I'm funny. In fact, I said to some guy that one night, I forget his name now, we work in a club in Worcester, and I goes, I don't get it. They all hate me. He goes, yeah. He goes, because you're funny.
Right. Yeah.
He says, if you sucked, nobody would care what you did.
Well, you know who else said that because you brought up Cleveland, is Frank Santarelli.
Yes.
When he moved to town, he said they hated him because all of a sudden he was getting gigs, and they're like, where did this guy come from?
Yeah.
He said they even, I believe they said, Frank Santarelli scoffs at jokes. He doesn't write jokes. He scoffs at punchlines.
Well, in Seinfeld's documentary, comedian Orny Adams said, everybody is nice and supportive until you get funny, and then they all hate you.
Yeah,
exactly. As soon as you're funny, they all hate you, and they don't want to talk to you anymore because people feel threatened at that point.
Right,
like you're going to take all their work away, which
and
is
especially at that time, there's no way one person could take away all the work.
There was so much work.
Every place had like 60 rooms all throughout New England. You know,
it was. I worked every single night for a long time. If you needed a show, you just say, "Ain't got anything?" Yeah, sure. Glad you called.
Wednesday to Sunday, there was a show every night. Because when I started in 1989, I mean, I've shown Scott my book from like probably 1990, and you open it up and it's like spot on Wednesday, $25, spot on Thursday, 25, spot on Friday, 50, double up. It's like
that looks like my book now.
Yeah. Oh, the
spot on
numbers you gave.
Thursday, $25.
Yeah,
Spot
right.
on Friday, $50.
Welcome to post COVID, where everyone knows they can pay you less.
Well, not to rub it in, you could work on Warrington Street, which Nick's was at one end and Comedy Connection was at the other.
Right.
And I could go back and forth. There would be 3 to 4 shows at least at Nick's.
At each place. Right.
And go back. And by the end of the night, you've done 6 shows and you don't know what you said when you said it.
Who said that? Someone said that Stephen Wright got up on stage one time and even said, I honestly don't remember if I told that joke to you guys or someone else.
I think that was Mike McDonald.
Mike McDonald told us. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So-
it was true. And you'd come home with $1,000 cash.
Right.
One night.
That's crazy.
And so it was just, but that was it. If it wasn't for that moment, crazy decision to throw this thing to the wind. And by the way, that was the year that Ellen DeGeneres won for Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
And Ellen DeGeneres won the national.
Oh, she won the national.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember the tape. She was at a piano and this and that. And, you know, like me, wasn't the funniest at the time. And, well, you know,
but was charismatic enough to win the audience over.
How has she done since then?
I think she's doing all right. I heard
she's doing okay.
I don't know,
you know, I saw a documentary on her recently, and they talked about. Oh, she was on Letterman. You know the thing Letterman does now.
Oh, on Netflix's talk show.
And
the interview show. Yeah.
And when she came out, talking about 180 turn. Right, she came out. And immediately was cut from her television show and disappeared. Everybody was angry with her.
Right.
Yep.
So they were disappointed. They were heartbroken. Sweet little Ellen doesn't have a boyfriend. So she said for a year, she nearly starved. She had 0 work. Everybody shut her off.
Yeah.
And guess what came along to save her? Finding Nemo.
Wow.
All of a sudden, she went to an astrologer. It's an amazing story. She went to an astrologer. And of course, Letterman's like, you did what? To astrologer?
Right.
And she's looking and go, Dave, she was good.
Yeah.
And she says,
it worked.
I still go to her. And she told me within a year, my whole career would come back. And then she says, I got a call from somebody.
Finding Nemo.
Somebody, the guy who wrote Pixar, who came from Rockport, Massachusetts.
Yep.
Called her up and said, we need your voice. And so he said, so she says, so then you were back in the game. She goes, not really. She says, they paid me $35,000 for that gig.
Wow. And that movie went on to make millions. That was one of the most one of the most successful Pixar movies ever.
Yeah. You know? And now, of course, when they asked her to do the second show,
then you renegotiate your contract. Yeah. So let me back up though, because I wanted to ask you. So one of the things we ask guests, and it seems like, you know, you skipped over the whole open mic and stuff like that. So, you know, typically people will go to an open mic or a contest and they do really, really well. And then you know, they do really well because they've got a lot of family and friends in the audience because it's a bringer show. And then they get to a real show like a couple of months later. Did you ever have any of those shows where all of a sudden you're like, you bomb?
Yeah,
you know,
a little bit. But again, I was novel enough. I was doing some pretty outrageous things.
Yeah,
I was up there with this little table, and I'm pulling live doves out of it, you know.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh my God, you know. And I'm
right.
I used to do a bit about one of the birds. I said, yeah, I want you to, and this was right when the Celtics were in the race. I goes, I'd like you to mean, this is Larry Bird, you know, stupid joke.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
So I'd play with that. And so I had enough that was just mind blowing.
Yeah.
That, and again, little personality. They liked me. The comedians hated me, but you're right. There were certain nights when
it just didn't work. And you're standing there and you're like, why did this work yesterday and it's not working now?
I had one nemesis, and it was Stitches on.
Yep. I remember the old Stitches.
Yeah.
Down by BU or BC.
Yeah, Huntington Ave. And Right Like You. I was headlining at the Comedy Connection at Nick's, and I'd go to Stitches and just couldn't get it.
Totally different crowds.
Yeah, and then they moved the club, and I still couldn't get it. You know, it was like right now the Bruins have got this thing going with the New Jersey Devils. And I can't beat them.
Yeah,
that's the way I was with Stitches. And then one night they were running a contest for a spot on the Tonight Show, and I went down, crushed. And then I moved on. I crushed again. I couldn't believe it. And I was in the running. I was going to do it. So I got in front one night, and I'm so cocky because I got this room. I got it nailed.
Right.
I got up. I did not get one. One. And you know that feeling?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything dries up.
Yeah. Everything, every drop of moisture just goes, whoop. We're out of
gone.
Right.
Have fun with the cotton in your mouth.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
so
the worst feeling.
I reach for a trick. I used to make a cigarette disappear. I used to take with bare hands, at least like that. And I go and pull it. God. And I said, okay, well, here, let me try some magic with you guys. The guys are tough. And I do this, total silence. And one guy goes, why don't you disappear?
Oh.
And the worst part, I had been booked for almost a year or two by, I forget the name of the Barry Katz. We all know.
Oh, yeah.
Barry Katz and Nina.
Nina, Boston Comedy.
Boston Comedy.
Yep.
They're in the audience. They have never seen my show.
Oh.
And I'm going down in flames.
Wow.
And, but there's a funny side story to this is, so my girlfriend's in the audience, and she's been in the mood. She's been bugging me. It was I had to do 2 sets. And right after the first set, I had a great set. The first set, she's going, let's come in. She was a gum chewer. She went, come on, let's go. And I'm like, I can't. I got another set. So she watches me totally bomb. She was a smoker. She's just going.
So where are we going for breakfast? Because I'm no longer in the mood.
I don't think this is going to work out.
Exactly.
Watching the boyfriend crash and burn. And so I go up to the table. I never felt worse in my life. And I got my bag of tricks and everything. And she goes, can we go now? So, is that the best you can do? I said, I just tanked.
Right.
These people suck. Let's go. So
at least she didn't blame you.
Yeah. I apologized to Barry. I apologized to Nina. I get to the car. I'm just crestfallen. I put my bag in the back and I'm standing. I get in the car. I got my keys and I'm just looking like this. And she's over there going, oh, terrific. Now I guess you're not going to screw me, are you? Now I'm going to have to pay for your bad show. One of the best lessons ever. I looked at the keys. I looked at her and I said, they are now a distant memory.
Yeah. Exactly.
And ever since that moment, I said, why let them screw up my night? It's just one of those things that happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, but we've talked to so many comics over the past, 4 years. That's what separates true comics from people who just try it. Yes. Because even after that really bad show, you still have to get back on stage because you're like, I know I can do better. I know I could do better.
And what you learn from that is, I was getting complacent because I was on a roll. I was everything I did. I had
false confidence,
batting 1,000.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden you're knocked on your ass, and I went to work.
Yeah.
I was going to make sure that was never going to happen again.
And I forgot who it was that told us that. I think it was even Mike Donovan that said that there are comedy gods that you will get. You'll get to a point where you're kind of get robotic because you're doing so well.
Yeah.
You're just in cruise control, and then they will hand you that crowd that makes you fall on your face and make you realize that you can't mail it in. You still got to deliver every time you're on stage.
You still have
and
to work.
They remind you of that every once in a while just to keep you on your toes.
That's like, hey, look at the Patriots. Someone had a perfect season, right?
Yeah,
right. They got slammed in the Super Bowl, and
exactly.
What did they learn from that? They learned that it's not so bad to lose a couple of times before.
Right. It takes some Well, it takes some pressure off too.
Exactly.
You don't always have to be 100%.
Wow. They learn that Super Bowl trophy feels a lot nicer than just having a perfect season.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So that's for sure.
So you kind of alluded to it earlier. So let's talk a little bit about your health. And
I was going to ask about that because you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast he had to overcome adversity. So
not only overcoming it, but really kind of incorporating part of it in your act too. So what happened with your health? When did it happen? How long were you doing comedy?
Can we do this another time?
You've already paid for the session, so we're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
You've paid for the hour, Tom, so we're going to get through this.
So at the age of, first of all, we live in very turbulent times, and everybody's got strong opinions now. I don't think we could be more polarized than we are. If you weren't before, you've all of a sudden found yourself.
Yeah.
You thought you were in the middle. All of a sudden, you find yourself one way or the other.
Right. Absolutely.
And I mention that because of my experience. I mean, I grew up in the inner city in Boston, the worst section possible. I grew up in Roxbury, where it was reverse discrimination. Because I had white skin, I had to run my ass off. All right.
Right.
And so it was a miracle sometimes to make it to the grocery store and back with the groceries and the change. Yeah. So there was this constant fear. And went to broker's school. So there was violence on the streets. There was violence in the school. And it was really tough. I mean, it was just constant vigilance. So about the age of 13, I was very fast as a runner because I had reason. There were people chasing me.
Right. Yeah.
So I was very fast, and I started getting pains in my knee, and I kept complaining to my parents, and they kept saying, it's growing pains, you're 13.
Everything that you think it is, right?
And they ignored it. Well, like, finally bring me to the doctors. And I remember them looking at the x-rays, and there was a big white spot just at the knee that was starting to climb up my femur. And they said, they came back and said it was osteosarcoma. Now, they said tumor. That's all I heard. I didn't hear cancer.
Yeah.
And so I figured this is something that, modern science, it's no big deal, whatever. But next thing I know, I'm in the hospital, and I'm in there for like a month. And one day a doctor walks in and says, we're taking your leg off. And I think he's kidding. And I find out he's not. And so obviously pretty traumatic. But I just told this story to a bunch of fifth graders the other day, inner city school. And it's my favorite story because I said, I went down a list. I always ask the kids, what would you say to this guy? Well, if the doctor comes in and says, you got to remove your leg, what would you say to him? And they get it. They say right away, they say, well, if you don't, how long could I live? That was my first response.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
If you don't take it off, how many years have I got? And it's funny. I asked the kids, I picked an age. What age would you pick that you could live to and keep your leg? And the kids go, 40. I goes, perfect. I said exactly what I said. Why?
Really?
And the kids go, because you're old.
That seems old at that age.
It's not when you're 74, though.
And I got 34 more years out of the deal. So, I would have been pissed. But there was also another reason. I said, and I says, they are old. That's what you think. I said, but I said, what else? I said, and I help them along. I says, are they happy? They go, no, they're not happy. They're talking about their parents. And I go, why? Because they got to work. And I said, right. What else? They go, because they got bills. Right. And then I tell them, and the third reason is they got you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so I said, now pick another age. And they go, 30. And I said, you're right. That's the second age. Could you? He said, no, you can't make it to 40. I said 30, because I'm figured at 30, people are still having fun.
Right.
and he goes, no, not even 30. And I go, 20? No. And now I'm down to 2 years. I'm going, how about 2? I'm trying to bargain for stupid me. They give me 2 years. And no. So I says, then I started asking him a lot of questions. I said, will I be able to run? Because that was one of my passions. He's no, because I want to take my leg off at the hip. And
wow.
Yeah. It was, well, the thing is, this disease, even today, in those days, this was before chemo, if 100 kids got it, okay, 95 died. All right.
Wow.
One of the lucky five. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So I said to him, next thing I'll be able to walk. Yeah, we'll get you an artificial leg. And I said, how about, can I ride a bike? I had just received a new bike. I think it was a dirty trick my parents pulled on me to give me a new bike before I go in to get my leg.
Right. Amputated.
Had one pedal on it.
Yeah, right.
And he says to me, impossible. Here's a Harvard-trained surgeon, 55 years old or so, Mass General. People are flying in from all over the world to get operated on by this guy. And he tells a 13-year-old kid, impossible.
Right.
Oh.
And so I go out and, I'm back on the street with the kids and I'm recuperating. And my brother is driving my brand new bicycle. So the desire was there. And this is, again, for young comics, anybody out there, in order to succeed, there is a burning desire in you. And a lot of times we don't know where it comes from. We don't know why we're comics, really.
Right.
That seed was planted, and so every time he got off it, I would jump on it. And at that time, parents were home. Women, mothers were home. Right. And all the kids would want to get their mother. And I guess this was my first introduction to drama. They would pull me off, and I acted it up. I want to ride the bicycle. But at the meantime, my head is going, thank God you showed up, because I don't have to try this. Because they told me if I fell this way, which is without my leg, I would possibly hit my head and die. They told me you could die. If you don't do that right, you're going to die. And first of all, nobody had ever done it. This is back in 1960. Okay. Wow. They had never seen, nobody had ever seen an amputee riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
So they kept taking me up, blah, blah, blah. So one day I got on it and nobody came. And I loved the drama because I said to the kids, why did I like the drama? Because I got all this attention.
Attention, right.
And I didn't have to try it. You see, I blamed them. They
wanted to see it.
They wouldn't let me do it.
Oh, they wouldn't let me.
They wouldn't let me. So I could get off. Big man, I spooked all of you.
I wanted to, yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, oh, thank God they come. So one day I get on. It was a late day in August. Everybody's getting ready to go back to school. I get on the bike and I'm all alone. Everybody runs, but nobody comes. And it's a long time. It's usually they're there in seconds. Somebody's mother's dragging me off this thing. And I'm sitting there like, folks, let's get the show on here. This is no fun. I'm here. And then the little voice comes in and goes, ride the bike. And I'm like, hello. And it goes, ride the bike, kick off. I kick off. I don't fall. I got balance. It was a 3-speed. So I was able to pull the pedal up backwards.
Yep.
Reach down, I pull it up and I push and I'm off. And I get up and I push again and I'm off again. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm doing this.
Doing it, right.
It's like a scene out of Forrest Gump. All the mothers come down.
Yeah, when he's running.
And they're running after me. Get off the bike, you'll kill yourself. And I'm free. I'm like a bird,
Right.
I'm doing the impossible. And I'm now able to get on this bike with all the other kids and go party with the kids.
Right.
And everybody knew that day, including myself, they had seen a miracle. And so doctors started taking me into hospitals. They were using Super 8 film to take pictures of this. I shocked them.
Yeah.
And then sending it to teaching colleges, medical schools all over the country. And so it was my first time of understanding, which is essential for any comic or anybody in life, that you don't quit.
Right.
That's an awesome story, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
what an unbelievable story.
And what I tell the kids, I says, if somebody tells you that something is impossible, they're lying. they are lying to you. I says, because they don't know what you're capable of.
Right. Only
That
you know.
That doctor didn't know that I was going to keep trying.
Mhm.
He didn't know the desire I had. He didn't know the commitment that I was going to keep trying, and sooner or later get it some way. I was going to figure this out. So I said, so to learn that at 13,
Wow.
to learn that at 13, if somebody says it's possible, you're like, yeah, watch. And
yeah, right.
You're right. Absolutely. With comedy, with magic, with all of it, there were times when you're like, oh my God, you just get beat up so bad.
Right.
Yeah, but you learned at 13 to overcome that obstacle.
Right.
That, some of these other obstacles later on in life must seem like.
Well, what I learned is, see, at 13, I had, in order to be successful, you got to have more important than goals, but goals are essential. You have to have a mission. You have to have a reason why. Like with comedy, we don't know really why we're doing this, but we're blessed, we're anointed, and cursed at the same time. We have to do this.
Right.
So here's this, I get this thing that and so to get immediately I was in a setback position. All right. I'm no longer a normal kid able to run faster than the other kids. I can't play ball. I can't do these things. I'm disabled.
Right.
Which I absorbed very well because I started to own the fact that I was different.
Yep.
See, I said, wait a minute, I'm special. I didn't look at it totally as I'm disabled. I looked at it, I'm special.
Right.
Because I'm no longer like the other kids. I have to do things differently.
Right.
And so I learned in order to get back, I had to learn to set goals. I had to learn to take a setback. So those are the things that you do. You know, when I talk, a lot of times, you're right, I did a lot of corporate speaking and I talked to cancer groups and cancer survivor groups. And I got to the point where I really didn't enjoy it because there was a started victimization. Yeah. A lot of poor me, we survived. And I started to tell them, I said, first of all, I'm thrilled to be here, but I have to tell you, I do not like the word cancer survivor. I says, because it is one step above being a victim.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't make it, that term doesn't make it sound like you did anything to overcome it. It just so happened that you made it through. You were a victim that made it through.
And these people are celebrating this for 25 years. I made it. And I'm like, well, the best thing they did for me, one of the best things, they took me down to Boston, to the Boston YWCA. There was a gal there who was teaching disabled kids how to swim. I didn't know how to swim. I had been in the water all my life, but usually jumping waves or something else or playing.
Right.
Within a couple of weeks, I'm now swimming. I'm doing something. So I went from being a survivor to a player.
Right. Yeah.
I'm swimmer.
You more than compensated for what.
Well, you weren't just surviving.
Right.
Right. So now I'm a player. But now, you see, because I was athletic and competitive, when we swam, I started beating the other kids. I got at least 3 limbs and I'm strong and fast. So now I go from being a player to a winner, you see. And I'm beating quote unquote normal kids. So then it got very interesting. I started to win a lot. In fact, I'd enter races and I started to move from being a winner to a champion. I also learned how to ski, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
So I said, so now I'm in a different mindset than survivor, aren't I? I'm certainly not a victim. Yeah. I'm not a survivor. I am now a player, a competitor, champion. And I said, if you look back and if you're champion long enough, what happens? What's the next step? Well, the next step is you're a coach, aren't you? This is where we know this. Brady will be a coach, will he not?
Now you're just showing off, Tom.
Yeah.
Now you're just showing off.
No, but that's great because
that's awesome.
To your point, you didn't just survive. You didn't just get through. You took that and then went even further with it.
Right. You kept building on it.
Yeah. And then I say, once you become a coach, then the next step is you become a mentor.
Right.
You start writing articles. You start, the coaches come to you. And the coaches want to know, how do you get to your stage? And I said, the last part is the big jump is to become a healer. And what do we do with comedy? What is the greatest feeling? How many times have you been hugged and said, "Oh my God," right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for tonight.
You made my night.
Yep.
And so there's this big journey from victim to survivor to healer.
Yep.
And you can probably understand why I'm a little upset with the Times, which seems to be, oh, they can't. This is what I hear all the time is we can't. And it's this acceptance. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Because I'm here preaching empowerment. Like when I speak to this inner city school last Friday, I'm there for one reason, to say you can do this.
You can do anything you want, but it's going to take work. It doesn't just come to you.
Right. But if you settle into I can't, or the odds are too great, or the system is stacked against me, you've lost.
Right.
You've lost. And so anyway, it's and if I didn't have the comedy, if you think of the steps, I got really good on stage. So when it came time to speak, I had all these tools. I could make
you had the skills already.
I could tell the stories.
Right.
And
and that's what
I think comedians make very, very good public speakers.
Yeah, because we're storytellers already.
And we've spoken to Judy Carter and Darren LaCroix, both very successful public speakers.
Love Judy Carter. Oh my God.
Right. Right. And they not only are successful public speakers, but they teach it. And both of them have their base. They started in stand-up and became these very successful public speakers. I think stand-up helps you, again, to kind of come full circle with disarming a crowd, winning a crowd over, and helps you with that public speaking aspect. Like you did with Toastmasters.
Right. Dealing with adversity. You know how to come out of that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because you've talked a lot about overcoming adversity and stuff like that. But what are some wow moments in your career? Like the times where you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm playing this, or I can't believe I'm in front of this audience, or I can't believe I'm working with this person.
Right.
Again, destiny. You start to, I think it's very easy, and I think a lot of comics, one of their problems is they get very egotistical. Mm-hmm. And they think it's, they're geniuses because they can land a good joke or slay an audience. And, that's when the setup, that's what I think you said, Donovan said, that's when you get the big slap in the face and you get knocked on your ass. And so you start to understand, wait a minute, maybe I'm really not driving the bus here. Maybe there's some intangible that is guiding me through life. So in answer to that, so Dominic Ventry, who booked Nick's, really liked my act, and especially because I worked clean, and especially because I had a novelty. Right. So all of a sudden, he says, Tommy, Henny Youngman's coming to town, and I want you to open for him.
Wow.
So imagine Henny Youngman, take my wife, please.
Right.
Oh my God, that's a legend. Absolute legend.
This is Yoda. This is when I met.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yoda. He would just stand up and go boom, 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 boom. And there was more than the delivery and the things. It was his aura, his personality, his confidence.
Yep.
And so I worked with him for 3 weekends, every Friday and Saturday, 2 or 3 shows a piece. And I'm driving him around. I'm his chauffeur. I pick him up at the hotel. We're driving.
Getting to know him. Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't believe how does this happen?
Wow.
I didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
He's right beside me, and he told me all kinds of stories, one of which I think comedians will love and will dear to our heart. He goes, don't let anybody ever take this from you. They will try. He's talking about relationships.
Yeah.
They're going to want you to stop. She says, because this is competitive. This is from them, and they're jealous of it. But don't let anybody take this from you. And then one night, the last night I was with him, he goes, so tell me, kid, he goes, how'd you lose your leg? So I go through kind of what I did with you. I says, Henny, I learned to ride a bike. I learned to swim. I ski, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I know, kid, because you got guts. And I said, oh, thank you. He goes, you know how I know you got guts? I said, no. He says, because I've seen your act.
Yeah.
So, and he says to me, I use that on Burl all the time.
Yeah. Yep.